Hi, from the living room. It seems now that Joe Biden will be the next president of the United States. Wow, what a week. But the road between now and Inauguration Day for Mr. Biden on January 20th is going to be rocky, and that's what I want to talk to you about tonight. My name is John Graham, and in past sessions I've told you more about me than you probably want to know. If you're new here, I'll just tell you that I'm a lifelong adventurer, a former Foreign Service officer, a writer, a speaker, a social and political activist, and for over 3 decades, a leader of the Giraffe Heroes Project, a global nonprofit that moves people to stick their necks out for the common good. More about me on johngraham.org, and there's a memoir, Sit Down Young Stranger, on Amazon. Now to the election. The Electoral College will meet on December 14th to formally elect the next president by custom tracking the vote in the 50 states. Before that happens, there will be recounts in key states where the vote was close. Recounts are a perfectly legitimate part of the American electoral process. But the historical record shows that no recount effort has had much of a chance unless the separation between winner and loser is very small, no more than, say, a couple of hundred votes statewide. But the smallest margin of victory for Biden in 2020 looks like it might be about 4,000 votes in Georgia. The last recount in a presidential election was the recount demanded in Wisconsin in 2016, hoping to overturn Trump's victorious margin of 20,000 votes over Hillary Clinton. But that recount adjusted the totals only by 137 votes, ironically, in Trump's favor. And since it looks like Biden could win by as many as 36 electoral votes in 2020, recounts would have to succeed for Trump in more than one state. So don't lose any sleep over recounts. There are other legal challenges possible, depending upon the ingenuity of the Trump legal team, to try to prove the fraud and deception that President Trump declares is happening. If you've been watching any of the electoral coverage, you may have seen extensive interviews with election officials in both red and blue states, pointing out how scrupulously honest, complete, open their election processes are. Observers from both political parties have full access to the whole process. Cameras watch over the counting rooms. Anyone can see the process online. All of it makes any legal challenges to the counting very unlikely to gain traction in the courts. What about the Supreme Court, you say? Look what they did in Bush v. Gore in 2000. And Donald Trump has already said he intends to carry cases he may have to the Supreme Court. Well, again, good luck on that one. The Supreme Court intervened in 2000 because of a counting process in Florida that was incompetent and riddled with defects. Remember those hanging chads? Right. Florida and other states have long since gotten rid of unreliable punch card machines and installed appropriate safeguards, so challenges of incompetent counting in 2020 are much less likely to get even a formal look from the High Court. The most serious impediment to a peaceful transition in 2000, however, is Donald Trump himself. He has for weeks declared with no evidence that the electoral process was corrupt and that dark forces would be trying to steal the election from him. All this in preparation for a stream of tweets and 2 addresses from the White House over the last 3 days, remarkable even for Donald Trump, and the outrageousness of their lies, their whining attacks on his opponents, and their outright embrace of loony conspiracy theories discredited even by his own political allies. In his addresses, Trump lied about the vote counting, conjuring up a conspiracy of legal and illegal ballots being tabulated, claiming without evidence that states were trying to deny him re-election. They're trying to steal an election. They're trying to rig an election, the president said from the White House briefing room. He also baselessly suggested nefarious behavior on the part of people in Philadelphia and Detroit, cities that he called two of the most corrupt political places. The worst thing about Trump's tirades is that they were attacks not just on his opponents, but on the concept of voting, the pillar of democracy itself. Speaking as the fascist dictator he always wished he could be, Trump demanded that the vote counting stop on election night when he had a comfortable lead, a move that would have disenfranchised tens of millions of voters, by far the majority of whom were Biden supporters who had cast their legal ballots by mail, many to avoid pandemic contamination and crowded voting lines. Trump had urged his own followers, on the other hand, to vote in person on Election Day, and that's what most of them did. Since mail-in ballots were counted after ballots cast in person, it was inevitable that Trump would run up a big lead on election night, and that Biden votes from mail-in ballots would steadily cut into that lead over the next days as mail-in ballots were slowly and methodically counted. The biggest danger in Trump's tirades is that at least 30 million Americans believe every word he says. And so a great many Americans tonight really do feel that dark political forces have stolen a victory that was rightfully theirs. And some of these people have already begun staging demonstrations, so far nonviolent, but that could quickly change as Trump eggs them on. You and I need to stay informed, stay calm, and stay patient. Trump's legal team will throw one Hail Mary pass after the other. They will all fail because, by all accounts, in both red states and blue, the process of vote counting this year has been scrupulously professional, honest, and transparent. On December 14th, the Electoral College will confirm Joe Biden as President of the United States. And on January 20th, he will be sworn in as President of a country even more polarized than it already is by the unprincipled fascists still in the White House. If this were a normal time, we could expect a peaceful and even cooperative transition between outgoing and incoming administrations, and I still expect that to happen at the positions below the cabinet level. But I also expect at least some of the ideological lackeys in Trump's cabinet to try to make the job of their successors as difficult as possible with last-minute rulings. And of course, Trump himself is almost sure to be uncooperative. There will be a surge of executive orders that will have to be reversed. And I expect an endless stream of more wild tweets, dire warnings, false accusations that will keep the pot of rage boiling among his faithful, so there will be more civil unrest as Trump's base rails against the socialist criminals intent on ruining the country for real Americans. And if Trump is reluctant to leave, the Biden campaign has barked this morning, if Trump does not concede, the U.S. government is perfectly capable of escorting trespassers out of the White House. Good for them. This unrest won't overturn anything, but it will certainly continue to unsettle an already badly unsettled country and make Biden's pledge to reunite us all that more difficult to achieve. So keep the faith. Prepare for these conditions and don't overreact to them. The nightmare will soon be over. Perhaps we can even hope that Mr. Trump will lose interest or realize that he'd better start preparing his legal defenses for the charges, ranging from rape to tax evasion, that will be leveled at him once he no longer has the legal protections of the presidency. And as for his next star turn, I doubt very much that Trump has the patience and skill to organize a significant political movement, let alone a new political party. But Rush Limbaugh, now dying of cancer, will need a replacement. Well, why not? And as for Joe Biden, well, the man certainly has a lot to do. As I noted last week, he'll need to, on day one, put in place a new science-based national plan to combat COVID-19, overturn Trump executive orders that are now destroying the environment, undercutting regulations that protect our safety and our health, replace the collection of corrupt toadies that now hold top jobs in the Trump administration with competent professionals devoted to the missions of their agencies, take seriously the task of finally dealing in depth with racism and inequality in this country, knitting back together a country so badly polarized over the last 4 years. Announce a new foreign policy that will renew America's commitment to a leadership role in a multipolar world, including immediately rejoining the Paris Climate Accord. Perhaps most importantly, restore a basic sense of decency, honesty, compassion, honor, and competency to the leadership of this great country. A huge and inspiring agenda. God bless America. Thanks for watching. Come back next Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific. Meanwhile, please comment on what you've heard. Like the page, share it with your friends. A print version of this talk will be up on johngraham.org in a couple of hours. While on my website, do sign up for my print blog, On the Edge. That's all for now from the living room.